why certain characters in movies end up making really bad choices. They tell you how to beat these situations, and the funniest thing is watching them be stupid. I figure what could help is to point out all their bad decisions, so for this little adventure, let's see if we can spot every bad decision in Jurassic Park. The probably first bad decision is bringing large dinosaurs back to life that you don't have complete control over. Knowing that they're bloodthirsty and having no sorts of personality dampers is probably a recipe for disaster. I mean, you have some breeds of animals that are very bad temperamentally, and if we can't control very wild animals now, why would you bring back a prehistoric animal that's not even fully the animal that you're trying to bring back? You're taking a bunch of traits from different animals to put into this animal to fill in its DNA sequence gaps, not knowing how the amalgamation of all those different carnivorous personalities are possibly going to make for an unstable animal. Also, when they're putting the animal in, make sure that the animal is asleep. It's very clear that right here, the raptor is still inside and is completely awake. You can see a piece of its neck or head. Why would they not tranquilize the animal while it's being moved? It's possible they didn't know the tranquilizer wore off, but then that's an issue in of itself. This is not the first dinosaur they're making like this, and certainly not the first velociraptor. It's hard enough transporting bovines or equines, especially when they're all agitated. Try pulling a trailer behind you with a horse kicking inside of it. First of all, that's not safe for the horse or for the driver. Much less an animal that's the equivalent of a prehistoric ninja hopping around in there, getting ready to do some acrobatics when you're least expecting it, and you're working with really heavy equipment. Also, really bad decision having these flame torches or tranquilizer or whatever the hell this Doctor Who contraption is supposed to be at the ready, but there's no way for him to actually use it on the animal. Unless they're expecting that this raptor is going to break free any moment, it would make sense for you to have something in the holes themselves or at the ready, closer inside with access to the actual animal so that you can quickly tranquilize it at a moment's notice. You can't do that from all the way over here while you're pushing the thing farther away from you.
Joffrey, raise the gate!
Why is there no locking mechanism on the freaking shipping container? You're aware this creature is awake. Why is there no locking mechanism for a guy that's gonna be on top of the gate with something that is very heavy and has wheels and has a homicidal animal on the inside of it? Very dangerous, cutting corners, very greedy. I know that Dr. Hammond is supposed to be the sweet guy, and I actually do consider him a very sweet character, but when you really dig deeper, you realize this man made so many mistakes after he already made mistakes, which is the whole driving force behind him making this in the first place. You do it on an island so you can escape the US law. However, if enough people are eaten or damaged, you don't think that's going to start making you a little bit more obvious? Pretty sure a lot of these guys have to sign NDAs. But seeing as this is an island where its first language is not English, I doubt many of these people who are working for Dr. Hammond are being paid basically nothing can understand English. So they're signing their lives away, and fair enough, whatever. You don't think their wives and families back home are gonna start talking? They didn't sign anything. Let's just say Dr. Hammond's cutting corners. Muldoon is the leader of this operation. See, right there, the raptor makes a noise. They're aware that the raptor is awake. Why not tranquilize it before that time? Okay, maybe they want it awake so it can leave, because they can't pull it out. It's too dangerous. Muldoon is the one in charge of this. He was a big game warden, so he's worked with animals before that were wild and aggressive. Shame on him for allowing this to happen. You have many men surrounding you, and you have experience. There is no excuse for this accident to have happened. So they can't shoot the raptor with any lethal charges because the animal is very expensive. Pretty sure Dr. Hammond signed off on people dying if a choice had to be made between them and the dinosaur. At this point, there should be someone, I don't know, like Muldoon, who is experienced enough to shoot an animal in a certain area that would make it let go, but that wouldn't kill it outright. Because you know, you're gonna lose money if this person is dead or mauled, which is exactly what happened, because this person's name is Joffrey Brown. And guess who sued Hammond for $20 million after he was killed by this raptor? His family.
And even the word raptor means bird of prey.
That doesn't look very scary. More like a 6-foot turkey.
In all the realm of bad decisions, yes, juveniles are not exempt from this. After all, we all learn from the stupid shit that we did when we were kids. If we didn't make those mistakes, we wouldn't learn. If we didn't have any accountability or consequences from those mistakes, we wouldn't learn. So in the realm of this kid's misplaced ego,
You gonna learn today.
flashes at you with this.
Oh, shit!
Here.
And that's how you get embarrassed in front of a whole bunch of people. If you get scared this easily from hearing the man talk about a story about a dead raptor and how it used to kill you, maybe not say anything. Maybe not bring attention to yourself if you can't take the heat. Most of us who have a lack of social awareness had to learn this way. Something ultra embarrassing had to happen when any of us placed ourselves in a conversation that we were not supposed to be in. Anyway, John Hammond, the creator and bringer back to lifer of the dinosaurs, is like, I have a proposition. Ellie and Alan, the main characters, don't want to go until they hear the word money. Meanwhile, Dennis Nedry is working with the company Biosyn, or the people, at a rival company because he's not getting paid enough. This man had a whole bunch of debt that he had to pay off. And even though John Hammond spared no expense, he certainly did with this guy. The person who he made his chief programmer, and knowing how disgruntled he was after this person repeatedly asked him for a raise, John Hammond should have either booted this guy or given him a raise, because he had way too much power. And once you say no to someone like that and they show outward disrespect to you and the company, it is no longer safe. It's a conflict of interest to keep them around. John Hammond should have known that. Apparently he's not the greatest businessman, and he should have had someone to help him with that. So now here's this dude who is out of desperation being bribed to smuggle dinosaur embryos out of the park before it's even open.
Dr. Sattler, I refuse to believe that you aren't familiar with the concept of attraction.
The she wants the dick. The dick.
Next bad decision is Dr. Grant not making it clear that he's with Ellie Sattler, even though it is clear that they're together. And yes, in the movie, they are definitely together. When John Hammond showcases his first dinosaur, regardless of how docile these animals are, if this is what the tour is gonna look like, it might be a good idea to separate the people from the actual dinosaurs. This is a bit too close. Who knows if one of those Jeeps end up malfunctioning, or if the dinosaurs get spooked for any reason because you don't know absolutely everything about them, it could spell disaster. The lawyer believes he's gonna make a fortune with this place, but the only thing I'd be seeing as a lawyer is all the potential legal issues and suings that are going to happen. So having showed them how he extracted the dinosaur blood from a mosquito, it's not actually a mosquito that would have sucked their blood, he shows them how the dinosaurs are born. After having created such a very destructive and fiercely intelligent creature that has already killed one worker that we know of and probably several others, why would you continue making it and instead of maybe dialing down the personality or breeding for the right temperament, keep making them and instead try to make stronger and more fortified enclosures, as though you're never gonna have to work with these animals again. Of course he keeps them fed, but Muldoon, the trusted game warden over here, despite them being fed, says that the alpha one is always taking the others and trying to find ways outside of the enclosure no matter what. This is a matter of safety. Why did they even bother with the big one? That raptor is clearly sent from freaking hell. Why not just keep the other two and make more? Seriously, what is the purpose? What is the benefit aside from having a third raptor to keep this raptor, which killed most of the raptors you had in your enclosure in the first place, except for 2 of them? That raptor is single-handedly responsible for ousting a general majority of the raptors, the adult raptors that you had on the island, which cost you a shit ton of money. Not to mention, this is the same raptor that's responsible for killing that worker and probably tons of others. Sounds like this raptor is a lost cause, and it's just going to sink more money. Unless you want to start a dinosaur fighting ring, what was the whole benefit from keeping her around? And I don't know about you, but even if she didn't kill 2 of the raptors, I would have figured at some point in time, since she killed 5 of them, seems like math is not a strong suit. So the lawyer's talking about, oh, this is what we can charge, and this is blah, blah, blah. Freaking soulless sucker. I wouldn't have known he was a lawyer if Hammond didn't keep saying it. Because as a lawyer, you're supposed to protect your client's interest, not going over numbers of what you can charge everybody to come and see your dinosaurs. You're supposed to protect his interests, which would be your interests, and tell him, look, this can make a lot of money, but you're gonna have to fix a few things. Namely, some of the issues we're going to discover as this adventure continues. Dr. Hammond brought Ian Malcolm, the chaos theory mathematician, who was responsible for studying how chaos happens, Sam Neill, the paleontologist, and Ellie Sattler, paleobotanist, to sign off on the safety of the park, to try and wow them with it. You brought them there for your expertise, and yet, when they give you their expertise and tell you what you're doing is dangerous, you turn on them. It's always a bad decision to ask people for their opinion, and then get viscerally mad at them when they give you their honest opinion. in, especially if you brought them there specifically for that reason. And just saying, with Ian Malcolm being a chaos mathematician, whatever that's supposed to mean, we know that he is specifically there to predict how chaos will happen. You don't like him because he's a rock star and a flirt, but for his occupation alone, if you're looking for someone to sign off on your part to make it safe or to convince investors that it's safe, he is probably the last person that you would want there, because he's going to find a reason, as is his occupation, as to why chaos will happen. Not the greatest decision. Also, bringing your grandchildren to a park that's not open yet to raid it is probably not safe, especially when people are telling you it's not safe. You just had the issue happen that happened before. Why put them in danger? And why not be out there with them if something's going to happen? Or have someone, some security detail out there. Muldoon, who seems to be the only person worth a damn in terms of how well he handles a weapon, is in the building with John Hammond and the others observing the tourists, because he wants to get their honest reaction. These vans drive by themselves also, so if something were to happen, you can't really take over.
You will see a herd of the first dinosaurs on our tour, called Dilophosaurus.
This is the part that really tickles my fancy when it comes to the ultimate bad decisions you can make in a movie. A lot of people don't catch this, but it's one of the first things I caught, even when I saw this movie when I was really little. Notice, the person said that they have a herd of Dilophosaurus. A herd meaning many animals of the same species.
We now know Dilophosaurus is actually poisonous, spitting its venom at its prey, causing blindness and eventually paralysis.
Now, the first thing I caught there was, number one, the dinosaurs aren't there. Great, right? But while everyone's excited about this, everyone fails to note that as they are passing by the pen for the Dilophosaurus, that there are these electrified fences. Where's the fence, you may ask? Here's a wire, and here's a wire. And for some context, here are the vans passing by, the SUVs passing very close to these wires. Oh, there they are. There's the gate. Now, riddle me this. And it's just me talking. Does it make sense, regardless of whether or not you've told people to keep their windows closed, to have a dinosaur on your dinosaur tour? I'm sorry. Sorry. A herd of dinosaurs that have the ability to spit venom, you know, like spew, something similar to what cobras do when they spit their venom at people. Spew, 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 window, spewing creatures with freaking venom that causes blindness and paralysis so they can eat you while you're alive and able to feel everything. I mean, I don't think it's rocket science here, but Jesus Christ, when it comes to bad decisions, this had to be one of the worst ones in Jurassic Park. Because surely you're not going to bring people on your tour to sign off on the park being safe when their kid's going to be on this, and you have a gate that these things' heads can fit through, because you see them later on in the movie. They are small enough to actually, if they were to just crawl through it, or take a running leap and happen to just pull their arms inward and shape themselves like a torpedo, or stand on top of each other, jump over the fence to get out. Not only that, they don't even have to, because they can spew their venom into the eyes of people. If somebody cracks the window because people are stupid, it doesn't matter what you tell them to do. Kids are stupid. What if somebody accidentally breaks the glass? What if the car malfunctions? What if they end up opening it and one of those things spew that person with their venom? Now they're blind and paralyzed and probably have permanent damage. Of all the decisions to make, why would you even make a freaking dinosaur for your park tour that can spew venom that can blind and paralyze someone? I don't know. Seems like there should have been a recall on that one. Again, unless they have plans to make UFC dinosaurs and they're just pretending that it's a park meant to entertain people, there is really no reason for them making that. Or to not bring it back to the drawing board, if you know what I mean.
You know anybody who can network 8 connection machines and debug 2 million lines of code for what I bid for this job? Because if you can, I'd love to see him try.
Sorry.
Even if Des Nedry bidded for this job and they worked out that price that he wanted, it is very dangerous and quite a bad decision to have this much banking on one person that has this much power over your systems, who is currently disgruntled because you refuse to give him a raise when you're about to make way more money and your whole motto is sparing no expense. While Dennis is talking about this is probably the last moment in John Hammond's time with Nedry where he could have assuaged him and said, you know what, Nedry, you're right. I will give you a raise. Would it have stopped Nedry from taking that bribe? Maybe not. But it is possible that it would have let him know, you know what, I actually do want to secure my job here because there is a place for me in the future. John Hammond let him know with this response that that's not going to happen.
See him trying.
Sorry about your financial problems, Dennis. I really am, but they are your problems.
Oh, you're right, John. You're absolutely right. You know, everything's my problem.
I will not get drawn into another financial debate with you, Dennis. I really will not.
In this case, it's either you fire him, or you give him a raise, or you bring someone on so he knows he's replaceable. Right now, as he has said, nobody else can do the job that he's doing. That means he is essentially valuable to you. And if you cannot readily replace it with somebody else, then you need to please him and make sure that you are paying him adequately, regardless of what he bid for the job. He is now there, and you now depend on him to keep your systems running. Systems that you don't know how to work. Systems that if he is crazy enough or disgruntled enough, he could send the whole park topsy-turvy, he can sabotage the whole thing. And oh yeah, by the way, release dangerous dinosaurs.
I don't blame people for their mistakes, but I do ask that they pay for them.
While all of this is fair, and in any other situation, it is completely fair. He got himself into those situations as a grown man, or maybe not. Maybe like a lot of us, he took out student loans, or his parents took out student loans for him, and he just kept on bailing on top of it to make such an important decision at age 18 for something that he was gonna get stuck with for the rest of his life that really didn't matter how much money he made, he would always be drowning in it. Regardless, it's still something he has to deal with. However, he is the only one with access to all your systems and who you were solely and chiefly depending on for your whole system to work well and to continue working so your park can become a reality. I think this is one of those situations that's an exception to the rule, especially since you need him more than he needs you.
Dennis, the headlights.
Yeah, I'll debug the tour program when they get back, okay? Okay? It'll...
See, even to turn on the freaking headlights on the cars, they need Dennis to do all of that. Dennis is doing everything computer-wise. Why are you giving this person that much power and not paying him for it? Are you asking for a sabotage? The next bad decision is putting these people on tour, telling them they're gonna see dinosaurs, and not making sure that the dinosaurs are there. Shouldn't you coax the dinosaurs towards the area before putting the people in the cars, so by the time they get to the tour and get in the vehicles and drive around, the dinosaurs will already be in the area? It seems like a huge waste of time. And if these people are the people you're depending on to give their opinion, or to let people know it's safe, or to convince people that this is real somehow, or to sign off on it, I feel like better preparation needed to have been done.
Suddenly jump out of a moving vehicle.
Oh my god. Bad decision. Number 600. Listen. This is exactly what I was talking about with the Dilophosaurus thing. Not only the windows, people can just jump out the vehicles.
I told you how many times we needed locking mechanisms on the vehicle door.
Why would you put people in the vehicles without locking mechanisms when you know there's dinosaurs about and kids in the area as well that can jump out and are perpetually stupid and are small enough to get through the gates to get eaten by the dinosaurs in the first place? Good grief. Before the park is even open, everything bad that could happen is happening. Also, with this much power over the computer network system, Dennis has surveillance on the dock. And of course, he's doing some fishy things behind their back. Nobody is making sure they have an eye on him with how much control he has over the internal systems. Also, when Dr. Grant comes down to see the Triceratops, apparently this worker is not briefed on people touring. And instead of him saying, no, you're not allowed to be here because we don't know what this thing is sick with, he just lets them touch the dinosaur. Great. Everyone's freaking feely upon the dinosaur and putting their mucous membranes really next to it and not knowing what is wrong with it. Now, in the realm of realism as it pertains to this universe, these dinosaurs are brought back from the dead, right? Or cloned. So some of their DNA is brought back as well. That means it's possible that if they brought back some prehistoric plants, that they probably brought back some prehistoric diseases as well, Miss Pop. Is it a good idea to let people get this close and personal with the dinosaur that's sick with you don't know what? She's picking up their shit and smelling it. You don't know if what they ate has freaking weird ass spores inside of it. From her point of view, this is a bad idea, and you have kids with you. You're teaching them to do this stuff too. So they see Dr. Ellie Sattler picking up shit and rolling it around her arms, and then the kids are gonna see a sick dog, and they're gonna be like, you know what? I saw Dr. Ellie Sattler do this. Let me go do this too. Now, while it's not her responsibility to set an example for them because they're not her kids, Dr. Hammond should have had better security and methods in place to prevent them from just going wherever they wanted to go or doing whatever they wanted to do.
That storm center hasn't dissipated or changed course. We're gonna have to cut the tour short, I'm afraid. Pick it up again tomorrow where we left off.
Are you sure we have to?
After they tell him that the employees have to go home, that they're going to have to cut the tour short, John Hammond is more upset about having to cut the tour short than concerned about the people's safety. This includes his grandkid. Again, diving into dino shit with your face really close to it when you're not sure what kind of sickness this thing has. She could have brought back something with her to the mainland, not knowing what it is, and start exhibiting signs 2 weeks later. I wonder how the story would have gone if they have written it from the concept of Ellie Sattler and some others go to inspect a dino island or a park. One of the dinosaurs is ill. Spores end up in her face, or she ends up rubbing her eyes when some gets on her clothes and she touches it, and then she starts turning into a tricyclops. But only after she goes back to the mainland and gets in contact with a whole bunch of other people, including her family members and her boyfriend Alan Grant, who also teaches a bunch of students, or has a bunch of underlings at his dig site. Dennis Nedry heads out. Meanwhile, everyone's spent their time out there with the freaking dinosaurs, and I guess there's no communication or people just don't listen, but there are kids out there too. Shouldn't be out there when there's a storm. Dennis Nedry is trying to get out of the area as quickly as possible. Now, I know visibility is low, but as he is driving, we can see from his car being lit up that the east dock says left, and he slides into the sign, having seen that it was left, and has no idea where to put it. Like, you can't tell me you didn't see it. You can't tell me you didn't see it. You cannot tell me you didn't see the sign! I saw the sign! When they're all stuck there because the power goes out for the vehicles, because the vehicles are not able to be driven on their own, you have that, the most important thing, but you don't have child locks or door locks. Ian Malcolm, who's been hitting on Ellie Sattler this whole time, only figures out that Dr. Grant and her are together when he asks them.
By the way, Dr. Sattler, she's not, like, available, is she?
What?
Yeah, I'm sorry. You two are,
Yeah.
And Mr. Arnold figure out that Nedry has locked them out. And he's also turned off the electric fences for the dinosaurs. You see what I mean? Now the T-Rex knows that the fence isn't electric anymore, and this idiot's like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna get as far away from the kids as possible because maybe that's the best thing to do. Fair enough. But I would guess that you would stay in the vehicle that has a bit more protection than a straw house. The T-Rex gets out, and here's my favorite part of all. The dumb baby bitch is like, let me take out the brightest flashlight known in the known universe and shine it at the fucking dinosaur that I'm afraid of, and I don't want to know where I am. Because sure, why not? The writers of this part of the movie just decided, you know what? We're not here right now. Our brains are gone to eat grass. So let's just write whatever comes to mind. And the dumbest thing they could figure, because they could not find a coherent way to move along the dramatic effect, was to make her find a flashlight and shine it at the dinosaur. For what reason, though? And you know how to turn it on, but your brother is telling you to turn it off, and all of a sudden you've forgotten how to turn it off. Don't tell me that she's a kid and kids do stupid things. Kids are the best people that I know when it comes to survival, especially if they're currently in the situation, that know how to hide and keep themselves quiet. No person is going to take a flashlight and shine it at a large animal that you're afraid of when you're trying to hide, and you're older than your little brother who has more sense than you, who's telling you why the hell did you take out the flashlight and you're shining it at the dinosaur, and you had ample time to turn it off. I have never, ever, in all my life, witnessed something on television or in a movie or any other medium that has made me so viscerally angry that I would wish for the person to die. Not to this degree. It just makes no sense. Like, any which way you try to spin it to make it make sense, and to make it make sense why the writer would think this makes sense, it just does not compute. It really doesn't. And I can only fathom that the writers did this on purpose to piss people off, or because their brains were gone that day. The only person I feel bad for in this situation is Timmy. His sister should have gotten eaten. Because of her dumbass, she could have gotten both of them killed, and she almost got her brother killed. It's like they were trying to go with a dumb blonde trope. I don't know what was going on there. Also, I don't want to hear that, oh, they're kids and they didn't know what to do when Gennaro just left them alone in the car? I'm sorry, shut the fuck up. Because if the smaller child had the sense enough to know, turn the flashlight off and stay quiet, then why did the older bitch do that? Because of her, now these guys have to go out with their flare to try and distract the T-Rex because it's attracted to movement to get it away from the children. Ian does this to get the T-Rex away from Alan Grant, but he doesn't remember that he has to stop moving when he throws the flare, and he throws it and still keeps moving and is very shocked to see that the T-Rex is still following him. And stupid Dr. Gennaro in here, I'm calling everyone doctor, I know, I'm sorry. But the lawyer here is like, oh no. Ian is thrown by the T-Rex and Gennaro is left on the toilet completely afraid. And he starts flapping at the T-Rex to get it to go away, and it doesn't. Dr. Allen helps Lex up. She sees a T-Rex and she screams because she has won the Darwin Award for the person who would get eaten first if anything ever happens. She's the person that you leave behind the group because she's going to get everyone else killed.
I wonder if perhaps you would be good enough to take a gas jeep and bring back my grandchildren.
I wonder if you would have been good enough to leave an engine inside the car and have someone there on tour with those people who know the park and know the animals. So if something like this ever were to happen, because you're supposed to have these kind of protocols in place when you're working with big old animals that have minds of their own and have broken free and killed people before, you know, I wonder if you would have done all that they wouldn't be in the situation. They would have been able to take over the cars and drive. I wonder if you ever thought about the likelihood of something like this happening, the power going down and there not being backup for the fences, and people being left out there unable to move, but now they're stuck in their vehicles and they're not able to drive and get themselves out of danger. I wonder if you wondered all that. Why did this have to happen before you took this into consideration? I mean, come on, you're old. You're old, and you're not just old, you're old as shit. You're wise enough to know from your time what happens when you don't think above and beyond. You spared no expense. I love Dr. John Hammond, don't get me wrong, but he's a dumb old man. Seriously, you spared no expense, but you didn't have someone coming in think about things like this. Just say, hey, Mr. Hammond, if this were to happen and this were to happen, you know, this might happen, and this is why you should keep this in line. It's possible. Maybe someone did say those things, and he's like, nah, do it anyway. But then that just makes him stupid, and every decision he's made up to now a really bad decision. While Nedry is trying to get his car out of a muddy situation, he is met by one of the Dilophosaurus, and apparently he has no idea what kind of dinosaur this is, even though he works at a park with dinosaurs. Now I understand he's a computer program guy, and he probably never expected to find himself in a situation where he's outside working with dinosaurs, but thinking, you know, you work with dangerous things that could get loose, it would be nice to know at least, in general, what type of dinosaurs you have, especially when there's one that can, I don't know, spit venom and blind you and paralyze you. Now, I'm not gonna say in this situation where he's trying to play fetch with the dinosaur to get it to go away that he did the wrong thing, because showing no fear actually probably kept him alive a lot longer. This creature is big enough that it could still do damage at the size of a dog, and it has venom, which he doesn't know. And if he were smart and knew about the dinosaurs, you know, reading up on that, he would have been like, oh no, it's one of them dinosaurs that freaking spit acid shit into people's eyes and paralyze them. You know, cover my eyes, since whatever mucous membrane it gets in, it can use that to try and violate me in whichever way it wants. Cover my eyes, my nose, my mouth, and ass. That's what he should have done. The moment you see it spit something at you, he runs. Okay, fair enough. But riddle me this, right? And I get it. People say that for these horror movies, people have to always be stupid. I don't know why people have to be stupid for things to progress in a horror movie. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, I know. Put my money where my mouth is. There's a story that I wrote on Logicaholic about that, about the facility or whatever it's called, and you guys can go see it, because I would argue, maybe I'm wrong, but I think I've made a story in which the main characters haven't really done anything stupid and the most horrific things happen. To me, that's more horror. When you make all the right decisions and shit still do be happening though. Why are you looking back? Oh my god. I watched this movie like 100 times and it always makes me angry. It spells mad at you. It doesn't matter if you know whether or not it's poisonous or not, or whatever it can do to you. You know it's hostile now. You're at the door to the vehicle. Why are you looking back at it? What are you waiting for? What are you doing? What do you want, a good night kiss? What is wrong with these people? Oh my God. Remember the millions of dollars, the 5 million or however much money you're supposed to, that should be motivation enough for you to fucking leave. Okay, forget the money. Survival? Hello? Survival? Okay, you're a big dude. You can't run from this thing, okay? What? And you're more of it to eat. I'm sorry, it's just the reality of it. People in a situation like that, if you're in a wheelchair, if you're blind, if you're missing an arm or whatever, you're supposed to make sure you have an extra edge up. I'm short, by the way. I know I'm a smaller statured person, that if there is a bigger thing that's going to get me, I'm not 6'5". I'm not gonna stand up there brawling with it. I know I'm at a disadvantage, so I have to make sure that I go above and beyond to keep myself from that situation. What? How are you working at a prehistoric park and you have no fucking sense of survival? It doesn't make a drop of sense to me, especially someone who's supposed to be logical. And don't give me the, oh, he was scared. And then why didn't he get the fuck in the car? Why are you screaming, bitch? You should have been doing that when you were in the car and safe. Oh, there. Wow. There goes all the money. So even if you made it there, you would have made it for no reason. Why would you keep something so expensive in such a loosely fitting piece of clothing? You think if I were offered that much money that I wouldn't wrap that thing up and strap it around my fucking neck just in case? Because you know how shit happens? I would have made sure that thing was so secure. It would have been in my underwear. There would have been no way that if I got jostled or I'm running it in a hurry, that thing would drop. No way, sir-wee. Or sir-wee, no way. I don't know, whatever the saying is. I would make sure it's secure. Now, even if you made it out of the situation, now that thing is gone because you didn't secure it. It's already slippery enough being in the container that it's in. Why was it not in your ass? You know what I'm saying? Like, not all up in your ass, but like in your ass pocket. You know what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because now you're dead anyway. Because you chose to sit down there and look at the thing that just spat freaking venom in your eyes. I swear to God, these characters deserve to die.
When Darwin said fittest.
He left us.
But that's not what I'm gonna do.
Yes, that asshole left you. And you caused a T-Rex to try and eat you and your brother. Good job. And this is why I don't forgive her, okay? You can forgive a 3-year-old, even a 6-year-old. But in the movie, in the novel, right? Lex is, what, 8 years old. But in the movie, she's a whopping 12 years old, bro. She's 12. She's a preteen. She's not a freaking baby. What in the shit ass? Like, what is even this character? She's older. As a matter of fact, she was, I think she was just as annoying in the book, to be honest. She was very annoying in the book. But still, the book Lex had more sense than the one in the movie does. She was less annoying than the one in the movie, if you can believe it. I'm sorry I'm screaming, but this stresses me out. I don't even know why I'm doing these types of videos, because it just makes my head hurt afterwards. So Dr. Grant, oh God, I'm going insane. Dr. Grant climbs up the tree, and Timmy's alive, thank goodness. Part of me wished he was dead, just so that Lex could live with the guilt of the stupidity of her actions. You think I'm being too hard on her? Whatever. So he tries to rescue Tim. They're out of the vehicle, and they're trying to make their way back down, and then the vehicle starts snapping, and they're like, oh no, holy crap. This thing is going to come careening down after a while because its weight is gonna snap the branches. So do you know what they do? Do you know what they do, guys? Instead of, because I know it's crazy, but the tree doesn't just have branches growing on one side of itself. It has them growing radially all around the tree. So they don't work their way around the other side of the tree where the car is. They race the car down the exact side of the tree that the car is on. I can't. I really can't. I'm just losing brain cells here. Shame on you, Dr. Grant. Shame on you. You could have grabbed Timmy on your back and you could have jumped on the other branch or just climbed on the other branches on the other side of the tree and everyone could have just watched the car go down and you guys could have safely made it down. Because this is the surest way that you would have died had it not been for plot armor. Funniest thing about all of this, look at all the branches. Look at all the freaking branches that are growing all around the damn tree. I have not seen a tree with so many freaking branches. I mean, This tree is the branchiest tree of them all. And yet, while the car was stuck, it would have taken all of a few seconds for you to just swing over to another branch. Note to self, and this is usually something that people probably would know, but if something is coming towards you from a direction, you move out of the direction in which it's coming in. You know, you jump out of the way. Sorry, I had to take a break. So they do a wide shot where you can see Dr. Grant, branches, and all the other branches they could have held on to on either side of the tree to get away from the area. And there were even more branches closer to the top of the tree. Moving on, that was bad decision number 5,600.
Go faster.
So they sent the game warden out there. I don't care how expensive these dinosaurs are. You mean to tell me John Hammond, knowing his grandchildren are out there, sent people out there but told them there's a stipulation, do not use weapons on the dinosaurs? If he was willing to sacrifice 5 of the raptors to keep the most aggressive one that kills all the raptors anyway, surely he can sacrifice some of those dinosaurs, or at least maim them enough to make them stop chasing you when you're trying to save his grandchildren. It's almost like he's trying to get rid of them. John Hammond is very sad about how all of this is going down. Dr. Ellie Sattler tells him that she didn't have enough respect for this place either, and that power is out now, or that light is out. I mean, all that really had to happen is know what you're bringing back before you start opening up a park. The dinosaurs' personalities are way too variable. They're way too variegated for you to tell which dinosaurs are going to act a certain way, and you have way too aggressive specimen. Unless you're gonna have them showdown with each other, there's no need to have raptors that are that smart or that aggressive. And as far as I know, only one of the raptors is extremely aggressive to the point where it will kill members of her own kind to keep in charge. As far as I know, the raptors weren't really trying to actively get out as much as they are now before the big one came in. Later, Dr. Grant tells the kids that the dinosaurs are breeding because some of the DNA that they filled in were the DNA of frogs or other amphibians, and those creatures have the likelihood that in a same-sex environment or where there's no breeding partners available, they'll switch genders in order to procreate. Guess who's gonna have to manually go out there and try to reboot the system? They're convinced at this time that the raptor fences are still up and running. But who needs raptors when you have dinosaurs like the freaking Dilophosaurus that's running around free and can spit venom and blind and paralyze people so it can eat them while they're alive, you know what I mean? I mean, by that logic, I would argue that the Dilophosaurus, especially when there's packs of them as well, are a little bit more intense than the raptors, since they don't even have to be that close to you to do damage. But let's send someone out there alone with random dinosaurs. At least Ellie Sattler is with the game warden, who looks as though he now has an actual powered weapon, something that is lethal. And would you look at that, the raptor fences are now down, and they're being hunted by the raptors. Ellie makes a run for it, and she is one of the only intelligent characters in this movie. Here is my other favorite part. Okay, so they have to make a climb up this perimeter fence to get back to where they're going. Can you see the problem here? They're gonna climb this fence. Okay. Are we getting my drift? Maybe those of you who've watched my other videos before on Jurassic Park, this is not new to you at all. But for those of you who are new, do you see where I'm coming from here? Do you see the problem of why them climbing this fence for dramatic effect makes no sense? Especially since you know the fence is down now. Nobody? Interesting. So for those of you who don't know what's going on, this is Lex's head. Better yet, this is the shape of her head. And this is the shape of the gaps in this fence. Again, this is the width of her shoulders. Just right around there, right? And this is the gap in the fence. This is the gap in the fence. What do you notice about this shape right here and these shapes right here? And there are several of these shapes everywhere. If you guessed that this shape can fit into these shapes, you guessed right. But apparently they expected that nobody was gonna see this. But even as a little girl watching this, I always asked myself, why doesn't she just go through the fences? You know, especially as a kid. I believe Lex was older than I was when I first saw this movie, and I love squeezing through things. As a matter of fact, I think it's a trait for kids, even when you're an adult. Don't lie. There's things that you've done. You still walk on those thin platforms, wonder if you can keep your balance. You still try to squeeze through areas, wondering if you can get through. My boobs make that really hard right now, but before, when I didn't have those freaking leprechauns on my chest, I could just squeeze through everything without getting caught by them. And guess what? So can she. What's even funnier is that she is bigger than her little brother Timmy. Her little brother Timmy, whose head is smaller and whose shoulders are thinner. Even if Dr. Grant could not get through these things, which I still think he could, judging from his shoulder width, these little things can. And it makes you wonder why scenes like this were even necessary.
I could climb over the top and be on the other side before...
See, the first thing he does is try to see if he can get through it. Why didn't he try to push the kids through it? Why didn't he find the biggest cap and say, you know what? You guys go through. I'll try to climb up the other side. You can see when they walk up to the gate, you can see it. You can see it very clearly that Timmy, with his dumbass face, is able to completely come through this gap. You don't need to climb the fence. You don't need to climb the slow. Dear God. Again, you get several scenes of Timmy. Look, his head is straight. I love it so much. You can even clearly see the shot where he's pulling himself up and his head is able, and his shoulders are able to completely fit through one of the gaps. Oh my God. Oh my God. What is happening right now? Look, he's even, bitch is even hanging through the, now they're just insulting people. He is even hanging through the gaps to support himself. His whole shoulder and heads are through. Newsflash, if your shoulder can fit through an area, the rest of your body can fit through too. Your shoulder, maybe your hips, but your shoulder genuinely is the widest part of your body. So if your shoulder can squeeze through an area, the rest of your body is like tapered. So it can squeeze through as well. So the fact that he is able to fit through here several times in several shots they show this just shows us that the writers are actually tone deaf, or they're just laughing in each other's faces right now, because there is no actual reason why he needed to climb the fence. There was no reason why he had to be electrocuted. And even if Dr. Grant and the others were like, no, Timmy, let's climb the fence, Timmy, being the smartest one out of all three of them, should have been like, I can just go through it. Ellie is attacked by raptors and she gets away. Muldona's attacked by raptors and he doesn't. He had the chance to take a shot, having worked with wild animals before and hunted them, but instead of taking that chance to quickly try to turn around and shoot the raptor, takes the opportunity to say the most iconic one-liner ever before he dies.
Clever girl.
Obviously, she's smarter than you are, because if the raptor had the gun, the raptor wouldn't have said shit. The raptor would have just shot you. Why is everyone crying for Timmy? He could have just been stuffed through one of the gaps, remember? Timmy makes it, and I'm so sad. Like, I like Timmy's character, but it would have been so hilarious if he died, and then afterwards they were like, you know what? Why didn't we just push him through one of the gaps that he could have clearly fit through 3 times over? The raptors figure out how to open doors. They're like the best characters in this whole movie. And at least the kids do show some kind of intelligence in the kitchen scene. But we can't have not stupid for long, because, you know what I mean? You can't go too long without characters being dumb. Ellie is brought back by Ellen so they can meet up back with the kids in the kitchen area. The door locks aren't working, so they have to man the door. And she tries to hold the door. And I don't know why, because Alan was holding the door. He was getting it. He was holding it. His gun is on the ground. So instead of one of the kids getting up and just using their foot, you don't want them to pick it up, sure, pushing the gun a little bit so that they can reach it, Timmy to the left there, his freaking psycho ass, is jumping around like something has got his freaking junk in a freaking vice grip. Instead of going over there and being like, let me help because I am a smart kid and I have shown consistently throughout this whole movie how smart I am, how annoyingly smart I am. Let me just, you know, pretend I don't know what to do, and my only purpose here being to sit here and jump around like I'm fucking insane. Not even Lex, okay? Let's not even talk about her because she's a dumbass. She's a freaking goat incarnated and goats are smarter than this person. So let's leave it up to Timmy. But then all of a sudden it's like someone has robbed poor Timmy of his brain. You could say he got electrocuted and he's not working properly anymore or something. But then it shows that he is later on, so I don't even know. To try and figure out how the doors can lock. You spend all that time trying to figure it out. Timmy's not doing anything, Timmy. Oh, Timmy, what a surprise, your head is working. But instead of doing something like, I don't know, pushing the gun towards the grown-up so they can shoot the freaking raptor, let me just stand here and just watch my sister do her thing. Like, what is the purpose of him even being here? There's no purpose of him even being here. She even screams out, Ellie says, I can't get it unless I move. Well, Ellie, before you had tried to get the door closed, you could have, since Alan was holding the door actually pretty good by himself, picked up the gun and tried to shoot the raptor. There are 4 people in this room. There are 4 people in this room. Moving on. They end up getting the doors locked because that's the only way they could have helped themselves in that situation with 4 people in a room with a gun. Dr. Grant asks for the helicopter, and then they hear the raptor coming through the glass. Okay, even if the gun is out of ammo, you could still use it to whack something. Better than using your hands, but I digress. The raptors are super observant and super intelligent, but they can't see or hear a T-Rex sneaking up on them. As a matter of fact, no one has peripheral vision in this movie. T-Rex roars, everyone's like, we're getting out of here. The end. John Hammond's sad, not for all the people that died under his care, but because his dream's not gonna come true now. Pelican flies away, the helicopter flies away. The end. I mean, I love this movie. Jurassic Park is one of the best movies ever made, especially when it comes to dinosaurs and whatnot, but good God, were the characters dumbasses. I think there was a horror movie I watched a while ago with my mom, and all the characters in the movie actually made really smart decisions, and they still got killed. And when that happened, you were like, oh shit, that's crazy. So I don't think the characters have to be stupid for things like this to happen. Granted, a lot of situations that happen, like in the Mr. Ballin videos, people were stupid, but there are people who were just literally minding their own business and doing the right thing, and they still had something horrible happen to them. To me, that's more horrific than someone making a stupid decision and just watching them reap what they sowed. Anyways, thanks so much for watching. This has been Ultiori. You ask, we answer.